Listen, babe. Oh, yeah. It's alright, alright, alright. 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 It's alright, alright, alright. Listen, babe. Oh, yeah. 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 It's alright, alright.
Huh? Hey, oh, we live? We
Man, what's
really
happening?
live?
What's happening? What's happening?
Jesus,
What's going
Where's the
on?
music? We didn't have no intro music or nothing like
What's
this?
popping?
I tell you right now, if you guys ever get a band leader, don't choose this guy here. He's the worst band coordinator of all time. He just said you're on. We're over here talking to we have a new guest by a young man named Michael. And he kind of looked like he could be a young Michael Jackson, by the way. And he sit with us, and all of a sudden we online. So I'm only gonna be with you guys for a few seconds
I'm
because
eating. Wipe
yeah,
my
he's
mouth.
eating. Right. We gotta make sure there's no crumbs. I had coffee on. If I have any brown stains on my shirt, it's coffee. I just want to let y'all know. All right, I'll call you. I'll call so and talk to you in a minute. See you in a minute. Anyway, tonight we have some cool stuff that's about to happen. I'm gonna give you everybody a chance to log into Miro. So please go into Miro on your devices. If you have a tablet or a phone, download the Miro app and then click the link, and it will put you in the Miro, the interactive part of class. And at home, we just go to the link Miro. It's best to use Miro if you use a browser. It's best to use Chrome as your browser to engage Miro, because Miro does require when you go to Safari and some of you guys have Explorer, which is kind of woo. That's a big question in itself. But if you guys use
It's like
those
having
two,
a Samsung.
can you turn this mic off, please? Can you turn? First of all, why I can't hear myself? I need to hear my voice. Like there's
Check.
no, we're here with no
my mic.
amplification.
My mic's not even on.
Yeah, it feels like see, I can't even hear myself speaking. I love to hear myself speak, but for whatever reason, our sound engineer / I'm telling you, this guy got to stop drinking. Pray for Josh, because Josh is a hidden alcoholic that I'm kind of. He didn't say he's alcoholic. I have no proof he's an alcoholic, but he's doing alcoholic shit. So I'm assuming he's an alcoholic. So anyway, but I love my brother, and sooner or later I'm going to have a voice I can hear. Hopefully everybody can hear me online, because I can't hear myself online right now. So there you go. Oh,
Check. There we go.
oh my God! You can turn me down a little bit.
There
This
we
is not.
go.
This is not, okay, right there. There you go. He had me singing like I'm about to sing.
Check.
Yeah, you know what? If he didn't turn on the microphone, I was really about to bust out some Luther Vandross and let y'all hear my amazing voice. But since the microphone's on, I don't want to. Some people are Luther Vandross sensitive and allergic in the audience. So what I don't want to do is start singing and then have them have allergic reactions. So anyway, so back to go ahead and log into Miro, because we have a couple of interactions and engagements. We had some homework from last week I want us to kind of go over. And I didn't notice, let me look online now to see who's online and do we have any new stuff here. But I didn't see any contributions except from Tavita, I think it was. Tavita is killing it. She wants this. Let me see, let me check something real quick. I'm log into this, make sure I'm not getting any interactions yet. Yeah, so in Miro, I didn't see a lot of interactions on the homework assignment. And I'm a little concerned about that. And the reason I'm concerned about that is because some of you guys are practicing passive learning. And you're waiting for something to fall in your lap. You're waiting for somebody to show up and make you successful. And this is why, can I get harsh? It's okay if I get harsh?
Sure.
That's a slavery mindset, y'all. You're waiting on somebody else to free you. Freedom is every individual's right. Power is every individual's right. Happiness is every individual's right. Love is every individual's right. But you will never experience them if you're in a passive space. Or if you do, you'll never maximize the experience. In order to maximize the experience of life itself, you're going to have to be active. You have to engage. You have to do things. There's nobody that can hear the sound of my voice that is not qualified to be a phenomenal entrepreneur. There's nobody can hear my voice that's not qualified to build something in this world that can have impact. There's nobody in this that can hear my voice who's destined for failure, whose life absolutely sucks. If you believe that, understand it's just that, a belief. And many of us are trapped in the prison of our own beliefs. That's what Code Extraordinary Mind was all about, was helping us kind of get past our own beliefs. I grew up in the hood my whole life. And growing up in the hood, I would always hear about white people. But it went from what white people was actually doing to the beliefs of white people. And the belief of white people is greater than white people has ever been in my whole life. Matter of fact, the belief of many of our fears are greater than they've ever been. And so the purpose of this class is not to motivate you, but to give you tools to help you navigate where you want to go. We don't get to dictate where you want to go. You get to dictate that. But you got to be willing to put in the work. And the work is how you arrive to where you want to go. And that's called active. Active. So active patience versus passive patience. I posted a piece in the Facebook group. Oh, by the way, to make an announcement. We brought the Facebook group back. Let me say this again. We brought the Facebook group back. So those of you who listen to my voice, let me explain to you the purpose of the Facebook group. One, make sure you sign up to be in the Facebook group, or you ask to join. You will be admitted. But the Facebook group, you can bring your friends and family into the Facebook group. The purpose of the Facebook group is we will share podcasts there, and we're going to release some of the old classes there from previous years. But the purpose of the Facebook group is so you can network with your peers, you can support each other, you can share articles, we can have deep conversations, so forth and so on, right? So we brought the private Facebook group back. So make sure you join. It's called A Year of Hope. If you go to the 510 Media Hope Foundation page, you'll see the link on whether to link you to the Hope's Facebook page. So please join in. I will be posting a lot of small articles there cool reads there, all kind of stuff that will keep you engaged so you can continue to like work on changing the way you think. But please tell me, and if I have this honest conversation, if you're going to sign up to be in a class and you're going to spend your time, which is your most valuable resource, your attention and your money, please tell me that you want to get something out of this. And if you want to get something out of this class, that means you're going to have to engage it. We're not asking you to engage every day, but, you know, I heard this guy said, imagine, I heard the brothers from, they had a podcast. There's a brothers on the podcast. I forgot the name. So come back to me. But there's two brothers on this podcast. Their podcast on a popular black business investing podcast. And he said, imagine playing on a team where you're losing every game by 100 points. Every game you're losing by 100 points. Why are you running the same plays, and why do you have the same coach? But so many of us are trying to stay in this class and run the same plays and subscribe to the same coach. And what is the same coach? The same shows you watch, the same you think, all the things that influence your thought day after day after day after day. And so at some point, you have to sit down and go, if I want a different life, I got to do something different. Your life is a result of how you're thinking and what you're doing. It's not, God didn't sign you this life. You ain't I don't care what life you have, God did not give you this life. Somewhere along the way, you got bad information that's altered your thinking, that's giving you the life you have right now. And if you're, as long as you can breathe and hear this voice of mine, you have the power to change it. But you don't change it by just taking this class and then, because this is what we discovered in 6 years, and Court can speak to this. We've had people that sat with us for 6 years in class and just listened. And they would come up to us and give us these testimonies about how this class has been so impactful in their life. And about 6 or 7 years from now, they're in the same position. Because they passively waited for life to change. Then we have people in this class who sat in this class and they engaged, they read, they even read beyond what we asked them to read. They engaged in the exercises, and economically, they're the pride of this class. All we're arguing is that if you want something different, you got to do something different. You know, what did I say last year? If you want to be valuable, then do valuable shit. Stop doing shit that's not valuable and then asking the world, why am I not valuable? How come you don't see me? I don't feel like people acknowledge me. I don't think people value me. I don't think people appreciate me. No one misses me. No one loves me. Do you do valuable shit? If you don't do valuable shit, then your life reflects that. It's real. You know, like I heard somebody tell me the other day, you know, a title me, which is, I don't get a chance to do what I wanted. I don't feel like I could just ever be me. This is a young person told me this. You know what I told him? Welcome to adulthood. No one's always them. No one is always them. These false senses of freedom, this false senses of right, this false sense of I can do what I want to do. Nobody does that. Once you engage anything you love, you can't do what you want to do. If you buy a car you've always dreamed of, this beautiful Ferrari, you've always dreamed of, you no longer can do what you want to do. That car will dictate a portion of your life. If you have children, if you fall in love, if you have family, you can't do what you want to do. Do what you want to do represents an illusion of being by yourself in this world. Really, you're sharing the world with everybody. So when you share the world with other people, guess what? We got to do some shit. Adulthood is doing shit you have to do combined with shit you want to do, not doing all you want to do. Now, we're in this game to make money, to have choices. That's what we really want. We want to be able to tell, you want to be able to go to work tomorrow and be like, you know what? Fuck it. I don't want to be here. I'm out. That's what you want to be able to say, right? So you want to have economic strength to be able to say that. You want to be able to say, you know what? I'm going to Africa for 6 months, and that's just what I'm going to do. And I'm going to take my immediate family, and we're about to have the best time ever. You want to be able to say that. However, there are responsibilities that lead to our freedom. Freedom is a responsibility. Stop acting like you could just wake up in the morning, be stanky, butt naked, and the world is going to clothe you and give you resources. It just doesn't work that way. So anyway, I know I say all that because I'm really kind of like, we're not going to do this again this year where we just create these exercises. Folks don't engage. Then y'all want to call me up and have long dialogue about business, and 3 years from now your bank account hasn't grown past $10. I can't do this. This is when I start missing. You have that friend who every time you call them up, you never can reach them. That could be me real easy. So let me go to the board real quick. So I'm gonna pull everybody to this section of board that we need to go to. So last week exercise, what we asked everybody to do was to look at the board. I'm going to the board real quick. Hold on a second. To look at the board and pull everybody to me real quick. So we have a few people logged in. So the thing was, we were going to look at the board of challenges, and in the board of challenges, we were going to look for alternative ideas or business solutions. And I think her name is Tavita. Yeah, Tavita is killing it. So Tavita, let me just give you you doing that. Hey, Tavita, I'm riding with you. You call me on the weekend and want to ask me a question, I'm going to pick up your phone call. Some of y'all, call me, see what I do. I'm at like an old man. I can't hear you, baby. Call me later. So I see Tavita discuss possible opportunities from the challenges. I'm trying to see if there's anybody else that added any solutions, and to use the note icon to post your idea. I'm gonna share one I observed today. So there was somebody, I think Tavita also highlighted one of the problems. One of the problems was if you decided you wanted to open up a supermarket, which we're not sure if a supermarket is what we need to solve a food desert challenge. Because we're assuming that because you open the supermarket, everybody would run there. I would argue that the Mexican community in Oakland, in our food desert in East Oakland, they've opened supermarkets. The question is, how well are we supporting them, and are we buying the products that's necessary to provide our health? But I will say this. When you're dealing with, I would argue that if you're trying to build a business or a challenge around, one of the arguments in this, one of the challenges was that if we were to open up a supermarket, the cost of space, right? The cost of space, cost of farming, not having partnerships with farms, that was one of the arguments. Let me give you guys a counter solution. And this is what I'm trying to get you guys to develop. This exercise is help us develop our innovation skills. So today, I get up in this morning and my daughter says, "Dad, is it okay when I go down the street with Granny to the fruit man?" I said, "Sure." My daughter loves the fruit guy. It's a guy who's on Seminary Avenue who they have a little small setup. They pull up to the corner every morning and he cuts up fruits and he puts it in a cup, and you drive up and you get your cup of fruit. What people don't understand is, you texting me right now? Okay, yeah, please. I tell you, when y'all see Josh, punch him in the shoulder for me. Just for me. I'm just saying, if you want to, I'm just saying, just for me. But anyway, so yeah, that's Josh. At home, that was really funny. I missed it. So anyway, so what happened is that, so she goes to the corner. A lot of times we think about a big supermarket to compete with a big supermarket. We don't think about business ideas in the context of evolution. Which then took me to the watermelon guy, who's this Latino family up the street who sold watermelons during watermelon season. So I asked him, I said, "Hey man, how much you making on watermelons?" He said, "Oh, we're doing $2,500 a week selling watermelons." This one truck. He goes, every truck does over $2,500 a week. Some do way more, right? Selling watermelons. Those are grassroots solutions that will scale to eventually become large buildings. If you ask the fruit guy how much money you making, you find out, oh, he does $5,000 a week. That's $20,000 a week. After a while, you got people running your different stations. After a while, you consolidate it to certain locations because when you start out a business really, really small, so it's a principle of business size. So there's different ways to think about businesses. I'm not going to get into the terms. I'm just trying to stay with the descriptions. If you're a big business and you make a small mistake, it may cost you millions. Your small business make the same mistake, it may cost you $10. Huge difference. If you never ran a business before, you start with a really small model, it gives you a chance to deal with learning curves. Learning curves of marketing and branding, learning curves of sales, learning curves of product management, learning curves of product quality, learning curve of value offer. You learn how to actually do business in a small space. You learn the people's personality, you learn the rhythms, you learn the climates, you learn all these different things that impact business, right? But if you start at a supermarket, you need to know those things, or at least the rough idea of the principle, so you can hire the right person to fill those spaces to solve those problems. So many of us want to go to a bank and say, hey, give me $500,000 to open up my first store, and I'm saying to you, look what the Latino community is doing in East Oakland. They're scaling business ideas from that same corner store today. You can say, oh, I remember when I used to go there when I was a kid. Don't be surprised if it's a chain 10 years from now. An efficient chain that's ran by somebody who has deep knowledge, because I was actually on the corner learning my customers and having conversations and being able to gain insights on their desires, their choices, and knowing how to shape this product to create the perfect response to be in competition with my brother and sister up the street. Right? So the food desert is an easily solved problem if we shrink our level of entry. Another young man came to me the other day. There was a brother running for a mayor or a council member in Oakland. He called me on the phone. He's like, Nana, this dude almost made me cry. I said, why do you make you cry? He said, well, a young boy, he had no money. His family was poor. He's poor. But he would walk by lemon trees all the time. He had enough money to go buy some sugar. He went to the dollar store, bought some sugar, straws, and cups. And he started making ice cold lemonade and be out there when it's high traffic time. And he started to build his own business in those spaces. Now that's a really low point of entry, but for that young man, he now has a strong income. And he has the ability to scale that business because now he has relationships. He can start to add products and services that can now scale his business to a larger size. So many of us, even Court tells a story that when he first started his business, it was just printing on T-shirts and selling T-shirts on a block. And now he has Court Smith basketball. So the food desert, if you stop trying to go in at, I'm going to be Kaiser, and go, hey, we're going to just open up a small building where we're going to have a couple of nurses hired, and we're going to provide these basic services, and then once those services reach maturity, we're going to expand those services, which over 10 or 15 years, we're going to be a solution. You see where I'm going with that? So when I ask you guys to look at the challenges that were written here, all those challenges were easily solvable. If you think about paying the cost of renting a space for a supermarket where you're at right now, that's going to be overwhelming if I tell you it's going to be like $30,000 a month. You're like, oh, what the hell? How can I pay that? But once you get into the business and realize, well, shit, I can pay $30,000 a month if I just had this small space. So you mean I get the whole warehouse for $30,000 a month? Shit, that's a business opportunity. Your scarcity based upon your lifestyle won't allow you to see the big picture. But sometimes you're reaching for the big picture and you don't realize you're also still trapped in your scarcity. In order for you to get to the big picture, you first need to start off with what is a small idea? What's the most simplest idea? If you want to have a restaurant, there's a place called Soul in San Rafael. They sell Puerto Rican food. Soul is one of my late night, y'all want to go get some eat? 1 o'clock in the morning. They open to 1 o'clock in the morning. We'll hit that bridge, grab some food, come on back. Food is amazing. Almost all day, all night, a line around the corner to get food from Soul. Soul started off as selling food at a flea market. They became a fan favorite, and then they went from a flea market to a popular push cart that would show to events. Then they went to a little small hole in the wall that was, I had to say it was probably 5 by 10. Then they went to an actual restaurant, and then they went from a restaurant to now a restaurant and a takeout space, and they expanded. They built on top of the ideas, and they do what they do exceptionally well. We want to skip all the steps because our ego tells us we're the one, but not realizing there's value in the process and the steps. So, with that being said, I'm going to open up another slide here in the group, in the Miro slide. And 1 second, I'll open it up for you guys. 1 second. We'll do another exercise. 1 second. I'm put everybody to me real quick. So online, I want you guys to share, since everybody had a chance and opportunity to read about food deserts this week. Hopefully some ideas came to your mind. For the next 5 minutes, I'm going to put a timer on this for 5 minutes. I want you guys to place inside of this box, Food Desert Solution. I want you guys to place ideas you came up with as far as solutions that could be a business. Why should your ideas be a business? Let me get y'all out of this silly, poverty-based, nonprofit approach to all your problems. If you can't make a profit, you can't sustain your drive. That's number one. Number two, if you can't make a profit, also, when you're in a nonprofit business, you have to go for grants and bids. I mean, grants and it's something else. But you apply for money from larger foundations. But what you'll find is that because rarely does your direction come up. So it might say you want to help kids out, but rarely does somebody want to give up money for exactly what you're doing. So often you find yourself applying for ideas that's slightly different than what you wanted to do. And before you know it, okay, wait a minute, I think the thing went crazy. Hold on a second. Something wasn't locked. Yeah, it didn't lock it. Somebody moved it accidentally. I fixed it. But what you'll find is that you'll come to this game, and Jesus, they just moved that up totally. I don't know where they moved that piece to.
I think that back piece wasn't locked in or something.
Yeah, probably was. Okay, in the green space, somehow it got unlocked, but everybody can kind of see the green space that's here. Just stay in the green space with your solutions. We'll figure out how to fix it a little later, but let's try to stay in this green space here. I'm bringing everybody to me real quick, and post your solutions. There's post-its to the left, or you can use a post-it icon. But bring your ideas to the green section. Yeah, that just totally disappeared. I thought it was all locked, but it obviously didn't lock. But I want you guys to avoid the nonprofit approach to problems and community, because what happens as you bid for money, as you are rewarded, they expect you to deliver. But what you'll find is you start delivering for things that's outside your mission. And although you start out trying to help kids, somehow you're over at the senior citizen home. It happens all the time to nonprofits. In order for you to be successful in impacting the community around you, you have to build a successful business. Let me explain to you real quick. Okay. Let me tell the story of Henry Ford. I don't know if I told you this. When Henry Ford created his industrial business.
You shot the timer?
Huh? Oh, you said timer. Wait, yeah. Okay. And timer start. Okay, so we have 5 minutes. Got 4 minutes, 58 seconds. Just share your ideas. When Henry Ford created his business, what we don't know is that before he created his business, we didn't have freeways the way we had. We didn't have gas stations. We didn't have Henry Ford. Back then, companies, as they grew, they would invest in local neighborhoods that they actually existed in. They improved schools. They created hotels. They created airports. They created so many industries.
The Weekend.
They changed time.
Yeah, Saturday and Sunday was because of the car.
Yeah, like there's so many things that we don't realize that we see as normal was created because of business. Business shapes the environment around us. The schools that you go in that you say I'm intelligent or I'm not intelligent or I don't feel like I'm good or I didn't graduate or I did graduate or I have, that was all created because of business. Business needed to smarten up the labor that was coming out to provide to be able to be the workforce behind their businesses. We don't realize how much businesses shape everything around us. Everything around you is shaped by business. Yet, poor people think that when they want to change something, they got to have just kumbayas, nonprofits, and everybody has to agree or everybody has to conform to thinking one way. When actually in business, you'll find that the best way to run an effective business is through diversity. So and when you run a business, you want diverse ways of thinking because it enhances your creative output and puts you in a better creative position. But when you form these nonprofits, what you're doing is you're actually trying to narrow everybody's thinking around this passion of what you want to achieve. So often that makes them inferior as far as having long-term impact. Yes, there's some amazing nonprofits like Red Cross and some that's stood the test of time, but we have more negative nonprofits in our community than positive nonprofits. And they're full of passion, but low impact. And you say, well, no, that's kind of harsh. Okay, you can disagree with me because I'm used to that. But this is what I need you to do. Go to that nonprofit and ask them to measure their impact. Let me see the records let me see the data around the measurement of your impact. And watch them get into this long story about, no, but we're doing amazing things. You just got to believe us. No, let me see the numbers. Or they pull these fudge numbers of, yeah, we had 100,000 impressions here. We had a lot of people who loved our products. We had all this feedback. Yeah, okay, but did you change any lives? And so what you do see changing lives is businesses. If 5 companies came in here tomorrow and they said, hey, we're going to hire everybody in East Oakland or send you to college, and we will invest in you, and we're going to pull the best labor in East Oakland. East Oakland will no longer be East Oakland as we know it today. You say, now how do you know that? Go to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and study the situation. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania used to be thugs, KKK, the lowest of low. And then Google and .com and Apple them hit the city, and the government said, if you want to be here, you have to invest locally in the local talent. And within 20 years, it felt like Oakland and Walnut Creek married each other. The same culture was there, but the level of peace and the way the culture changed and all the cool things to do, and it still had remnants. Like if you look at some of the buildings, like, oh, this is the ghetto, but it didn't feel like our ghetto. Or you would see certain things. And the reason for that is because the business, once people had a different salary, we act different. A lot of young people are starving in the streets. That's why they act the way they act. They're not acting that way because there's no such thing as, oh, these are bad. There's good and bad people. Let's get that whole conversation out of our mouth. What we're witnessing is people who are starving, are under resources, are undervalued. When white folks wanted to build this country, this is in this American history, they knew, okay, so white folks knew, white young men and white folks had a high crime rate. And a lot of Americans was talking about communism, socialism, all these different ideas. You know what Americans said? Give them jobs and give them houses so they can buy into the idea of Americanism. That's why white folks got all those houses subsidized. Now, they didn't want us to buy into it. They didn't give a shit what we bought into as far as black folks. But the way they brought their culture under control is they realized that if people don't feel like you give to them, they won't give a fuck about you. If people don't feel like the government cares about them, they don't care about the nation. The reason you see a young man down the street and throw trash out of his car, he feels like the world doesn't care about him. Well, there's a little truth to that, a little bit of truth. I'm talking about a little bitty bit of truth. And you know what the truth is? Black people, we're so individualistic about ourselves, we don't realize that we have to invest in our next generation or our next generation will kill us. It's that simple. If you want to get rid of gangsters, give them a fucking opportunity. Invest in them. Show up to their schools. Like, you know why gangs take off in most communities? Because a lot of times children don't feel loved by the system above them, so they join the system below them. Because all they're looking for is love. So this is our responsibility to solve these problems. So post your solutions. I'm having a part to this exercise, and we're gonna come back because we're gonna get into deep. Once we post the solutions, we're gonna vote of these solutions which one we want to work on. Then we're gonna separate ourselves in teams, and we're gonna start building a business in this class, a virtual business in this class. Right? And this is a tool that we use in business all the time. We want to expand our business. We build a virtual idea in our mind, and we kind of think out the process and the strategy. And then once we finish the virtual idea, then we go out and start the process. It's like we create a map. Now remember, the map is not the terrain, but you got to have a map. And this is how you start the map, by first playing with it. Now, the beautiful thing about working with multiple people, it's going to teach you why none of us are superheroes. If you want to build a powerful business, you need a team. You're going to realize that when you work together with a team will speed up the process because ideas are coming from different places. And as long as you structure it correctly, you can produce a lot from a team. So that being said, I'm going to back out of this because Court got some dope shit he's teaching tonight. I'm excited. Stay in Miro. I'm going to pull everybody to the slides in Miro. In Miro, you'll be able to post in Miro your responses to each slide. So as he pulls up a slide in Miro, you'll be able to put in your responses. There will be communication. Shabisha has just arrived, has just entered the building. So once Shabisha joins in, between me and Shabisha, we will raise up your questions and ask questions in class. We want this class to be as interactive as possible. You do not learn from just listening to facts and details. You have to also engage to learn. And if something doesn't make sense, it's nowhere in the world that we can have between the two of us 30, 40 years of business experience, and it makes sense to you. Everything just can't make sense to you, right? And so don't ever be afraid to ask what you would consider a dumb question, because there's no such thing.
There are no dumb questions, none.
No, unless you call me and you ain't did no homework, then that's a dumb question. But outside of that, there's no dumb question as far as business, because contextually, there's so many distortions out there. I don't really know to tell you where they all exist at. There's no Google to understand distortions.
Or like, can I smoke crack and be a successful entrepreneur? Yes, you can. Did you watch The Wolf of Wall Street? Like, there's all kind of optionalities.
Yeah, some of them crazy. Now, long term, that might be debatable. That's debatable.
Right.
But can you make money and smoke crack?
Yes.
Yeah. Can you sustain yourself? No.
Probably not.
But there's a philosophical question is, sometimes I ask myself, if we really embrace death, stop all this mental avoidance of death, but if we enter death into our philosophy of life, then who had the best life? The person who worked to their fingers to the bone and died?
Hey, don't do
Or the
that to him.
crackhead?
Don't do that to
Hard
him.
question.
Don't do that to him. Don't do that to him.
I'm not trying to create any drug addicts. I'm just saying something that this, when you think about deeper philosophy.
I feel you, but
you go
yeah,
places,
yeah.
you go
You know.
places. Anyway, all right, y'all. Have a good night. I'm out. Once again, Shabisha has just entered the building. Shabisha has just entered the building.
Shabisha to the mic. What's up, y'all? All right, we're gonna get the slides lined up on Miro because we got a dope class today, and I would love to hear your feedback and be interactive with this on the first couple of slides, because it's going to be dialogue between us and you, just to see where your head is. Okay. All right. Before we get going, I want to acknowledge and give a shout out to a lot of folks in Hope who have been donating. So appreciative. You guys know what this does for our program and our organization. It allows us to continue to expand. So shout out to Cassandra and Henry Williams, Lisa Hish, Delisha Star Washington, Mika Johnson. We appreciate you guys. Thank you so much, because we appreciate that you are adding value to us so that we can continue to add value to everybody else. So that hits deep, and we appreciate it. We ready to rock and roll? Okay. Okay. While we're getting this figured out, so I want you guys to impress this on your mind and just come up with thoughts about it. And we're going to start the class off with the question, what are 10 financial killers in the black community? We know there's a lot more than 10, but we want to focus on what do you think the top 10 killers financially in the black community are? And they can range from emotional all the way down to financial resources, whatever you feel the financial black killers are in our black community. Start playing with that in your head. Start writing down some ideas. And even in here and online, we can pass the mic around and see what your thoughts are. And then we're gonna collaborate and compare that with some of the notes that I have. What are the 10 most financial killers in the black community today? Just until Nana's ready. Good? All right. All right, so on the slide, the 10 financial killers in the black community, post that on that next slide. So open that slide up, frame 22. Yep, so grab a Post-it, and on the next frame, on the next slide, post your answers. The next one, Nana. Yeah. Yeah, next slide. There you go. So this next slide, you see the slide, 10 financial killers in the black community. Anybody in the audience? Yes. Shabisha in front of, give her the mic in front of you.
Testing.
Testing. Hey, hello.
I think mindset is one of the most powerful killers of a lot of in our community. It's just a person's mindset and how they want to think with limited insight on anything.
Okay.
You know, and dreaming and not waking up to actually make this idea come into fruition.
Those are two good ones. She said one, basically limited beliefs, which is mindset, and two is dreaming and not taking the action. Anybody else? Veronica says, for the black and brown community is lack of financial literacy plus mindset. So lack of financial literacy is another one. Any other ideas? All the way in the back?
Hello. I was thinking real specific, like the cannabis industry and how it took away from like the street hustler, and a lot of the corporations that own them here in the city aren't typically black people, but also not from Oakland even.
So you're saying corporations taking away opportunities from the hustlers?
Yeah.
Okay. Any other ideas? I see some on the post. Shabisha, you want to?
Darren says ego,
Ego.
and Marcus says keeping up with the Joneses.
Okay.
Did you get Veronica's already for the Black and Brown
Yep.
community, the lack of financial literacy? You got that one. And there's more coming.
Good. Let's keep them coming. I love to hear what you guys think.
I can see people writing. Albert said he also thought about, is this the same as mindset? He might have to.
There was a note there, it's gone now, but somebody else wrote consumerism. I wrote a comment in the mural, but it was in response to a sticky note that I can't see on there anymore. That sticky note originally said something along the lines of like consumerism and materialism. But my question was, is that like in the same category as mindset?
Consumerism and materialism. Well, mindset is to keep it 100. Mindset is a broad term, right? Because a financial killer is most of it, if not all of it, is mental. So what we're basically doing is breaking down into the pieces specifically inside the mindset category. It's this, it's that, is limited beliefs, it's materialism, which is a mindset. Materialism is a mindset. Keeping up with the Joneses is part of mindset. So yes.
Other things that are coming up are lack of access, scarcity mindset,
Okay.
an inability to work as a collective.
Inability to work as a collective. We hear that one a lot, don't we? Black folks can't work together. We got that crabs in a bucket mentality. That's what a lot of people say.
And the comment, just to double back on what Albert said, it was consumerism, trying to keep with expensive material things. Ignorance.
Ignorance.
I don't know if it was already said because there were a couple terms I didn't understand, but one of them would be satisfaction with like the minimum, like getting what you need and not going more, like just working what you need to when you need to instead of going more to get more.
That's a good one. So he's saying satisfaction with bare minimum. So just status quo. I don't want to do much. I just want to, as long as I'm at the bare minimum, that's cool with me. It's a good one. Excellent. Dope. So those are some good ones. So let's go through some of the ones that are on my list. And there's a reason why we're going to divulge into this and why it applies to the next slides in the next book that we're reading, because you'll see some of the correlation between our community and what some of us are suffering from. So someone already said ego, right? That's on my list. Ego / posturing. Somebody told us a long time ago that you got to fake it to make it. You got to fake it to make it. So it's better you show up in a Gucci this and a Louis Vuitton that and a fly ass this and spend all your money on the outer so that you can be treated in a certain manner so that you can eventually have the shit. It seems like in our community we've taken that down into a place where it's so counterintuitive to us, it ends up killing us. Posturing is one of the big, devastating things that tremendously impacts our community. And the reason why it's hard to die is because you get such a high from it. You get such a high from it. You can literally transform appearances and be treated differently based on what you purchase without having to do the real work. So if I pull up in the latest Range Rover truck, I'm gonna get the dopamine and all the emotional charges like I'm successful, the way people around me treat me, how they respond to me, and the women that like me now, and all this stuff. And I ain't really have to do the work. All I have to do is be able to afford a $982 a month car payment. You can work DoorDash for that. And so if you backwards hustling, as we used to call it, meaning you are willing to posture to people and tell people you're doing big things and you wearing a big change and a watch and a fancy clothes that signal, that prime that you're successful. A lot of people don't want to do more than that. Just like Mike said, look, if I ain't got to do the work, but I can still get the benefits of doing the work, shit. Why not? Posturing is huge. Second one, it's still connected to the ego. It's the know-it-all. You know everything. It's a know-it-all. This guy or this girl knows everything. So whenever you move in a space like you know everything, what you do is you push away the people who can help you elevate. They run away from you. And will let you fail. It will let you fail. The worst thing you can do in a society that's at the bottom is in statistics financially. As a society, us as black culture is at the bottom of statistics in terms of financial wealth creation, financial and net worth and income and all those statistics. And the worst thing we can do is act like we know everything. We don't. It's obvious that we don't. We always make this joke, like, well, look at your bank account. If you take the collective African American bank account and look at it, it is completely opposite of how we should be behaving in terms of us and our posturing. So Instagram got us fucked up because I think if we just base everything off Instagram, we good. And it makes it magnifies it even more, because if you're getting likes from your posturing and you're getting loves and DMs and all those things from posturing, then it has a utility for you and it's hard to quit. Number 3 is the reparation mentality. I call it the reparation mentality. The world, white people, your significant other, your mate, your spouse, your kids, your friends, everybody owes you something. You move in a space like everybody owes you. You don't have to add no value to the world because you've been hurt or you've been through some shit or you had a hard life or you had trauma or you had somebody hurt you in a way, or you black and it was 400 years of slavery. You move in a space where everybody owes you. And a lot of us know people like that. You can literally look behind them and see destruction in their path. People they hurt, situations they didn't give a fuck about. You're shocked that they actually said this or that and was like, so what? That's how I felt. Selfish. Because in their mind, the world needs to equalize all the pain that they've been through, so they can not give a fuck about people. So that's the reparation mentality. Motherfuckers owe me. So I get to talk to you any kind of way. I get to take from you emotionally, mentally, spiritually, whatever. Because the world still has a balance that I got to collect on. And people like that are so dangerous to be around. So dangerous to be around. Number 4, that hustler mentality. Quick lick hustler mentality. And I always have to, when I speak on hustler anything, I have to put an asterisk next to it because I was the #1 hustler on the planet. So I can't front like I wasn't. That was my claim to fame, is being a hustler. Hustle, hustle, hustle. Everything was a hustle. You're not going to out-hustle me. It comes from scarcity. It comes from not having a lot. It comes from being broke and not wanting to be broke. And the asterisk on this one is that at a certain stage in your life, having a hustler mentality is not wrong. It's actually helpful. The danger in this is not being keenly observant and knowing when to let the hustler mentality go. Because if you scaling your business and if you have a hustler mentality, if Nana was talking about earlier, and you got the fruit stand on the corner, being a hustler is good. Because you're figuring it out and you're hustling, you're making shit happen, you're moving, you're hustling. But once you get to supermarket status, you as an owner of the business can't think in a hustler mentality mindset, or it's gonna kill your business. Next one, this one's sensitive. I might get canceled. Sorry, I've been canceled. I'm resurrected. Tupac. Waiting for God to come help you complex. A lot of people just try to pray it away at the church. They think where their work begins and where God ends is infinite, meaning they don't got to do none of the work. God can do all of the work. And they sitting waiting for God to do it. A lot of my age group and older is stuck on that mindset. And they've been suffering, tormenting, struggling, sitting in poverty, being in poverty, dealing with a tumultuous life, and just praying. You got to do the work too. I pray all the time, every day. But you got to do the work too, because you don't know where you end and God begins, or where God begins and you end in that whole equation. So you got to do the most you can and let God do the rest. But you can't just chill and sit around and be like, God got me. We shall overcome is a beautiful statement. But that also constitutes action. We're going to do something about it. So how we got from Jim Crow to segregation and all of these things to get to the point that we are in now, that came from action from us, from our people. They took massive action and risked their lives, risked their freedom, risked everything to get to the point that we are today. Next one, takes money to make money mentality. The reason why I ain't moving is because the rich get richer, poor get poorer. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. Bullshit. You can, in today's times, you have the best opportunity to create platforms for yourself to generate revenue and sell, and sell products, market and brand yourself. Online, nobody knows who you are and what you look like. So you can't blame that. Online, nobody knows you. If you build a business, you are an EIN number. If you build an entity, at that point, you are an EIN number. That's it. You're a number. So you have the opportunity more than ever, any time in history, to build, create, and expand something. Next one is fear. Fear of failure. That was in there. Fear of failure. Some of us have great ideas. Some of us are smart, intelligent. Some of us are bold. Some of us have tools, experience, but some of us are too scary to start or build or take risks or try anything because we're afraid to fail. caught in a perfection mindset. What if I fail? What if it don't work? What if I lose my money? What if this? What if people laugh at me? What if? And they what if themselves to death to the point where they have approach avoidance, meaning they won't even start. Frozen, like the movie. Frozen. And you can leave and come back 10 years later and they're still there. Fear of failure. And that's, to me, the saddest to watch, because that's a slow death. Because that person will continue to work that 9-to-5 job, or work where they don't want to work, where they feel forced to work, or they're stuck in that rut, and it's a slow death, agonizing, all because they're afraid of failing. The next one is fear of success. The reason why this one is big in the black community is because a lot of times the idea of being successful in your group as a black person, a black woman or man, it creates all kind of fears. Well, what if, since I'm the only one that makes money, people come to me and always want to borrow money, or people start thinking I'm bougie, or they like, you made it and they shun me, or I put a target on my head for somebody in the hood, or you come up with all these reasons and these fears for when you become successful and you ain't got the money yet. But fear of success is a lot of times just as strong and just as big of a fear as fear of failure. What if I'm all alone? What if I get to the top and I'm by myself? I got nobody to share with me. It's so many fears that can come up in your head that if you don't manage those fears and overcome those fears, then it can create self-sabotage for you. Negative associations to money. So like she mentioned earlier, if you have limiting beliefs and you got negative associations, that's connected. A lot of us grew up and our parents did the best that they could. And our parents came from low means. They did the best that they could. So in order to create a happy household when you don't have a lot, is you block out what you don't have and you focus on what you have, which is good. But I think what a lot of our parents have done is they start to demonize the good. Talk shit about rich people. Highlighting parts in the Bible that says, see, being rich is bad, see? Focus on the kingdom. It was harder for rich men to get through the heaven between a needle and a camel and whatever the hell. Because that makes you feel good as a family, right? Like, oh, well then look, we got love. We got family, we got connection, we got each other, we got good food. Let's focus on what we have. But the issue is when we demonize what we don't. We demonize the unknown, and that's what creates that fear of success. Well, what if God don't like rich people? Because I was brought up in the church, and they went hard on the rich and the wealthy. So those come from negative associations with money. If you went to your parents who maybe they didn't have a lot, they had barely enough to make it, and you as a child or a teenager went to your parents and said, hey, can I borrow some money, or can you buy me this toy or this bike or this video game, and the chick comes out there, money don't grow on trees, what do I look like? Or your mom was always robbing Peter to pay Paul, and all these weird things that brought up scarcity, then that you got to understand that's also internally part of your subconscious behavior and mentality. Here's some honorable mentions. Intelligence equals wealth. A lot of us believe, because we were brought up with not a lot of access to information, that the smarter you are, the more money you have. The more education you have, the more money you can generate. Got a BA, MBA, PhD from this college or that college, and those things equate wealth. It's a total lie. Complete lie. Again, does not devalue the benefits of education, but being rich and wealthy and generating money and having a formal education at a college ain't got nothing to do with each other. Or very, very little. I challenge you on that. A lot of my entrepreneur friends who are millionaires, multimillionaires, billionaires, dropped out of college, no college, high school diploma, some college, a couple, one Cal Berkeley grad. But the majority, self-educated. Read tons of books on a continuous basis every day, always upgrading their mental software, always reading, always advancing, always figuring out more, always reading more. But if I looked on their wall, there's no degrees or plaques on their wall. Very few. Couple of my friends. So the two are not linked, but because we didn't have a lot of access to education, especially, my age group and older, we think that's the missing link is education. That's why when things opened up a little bit, the families who thought they were doing the right thing for their children sent them to school, go to school. But now they're graduating from these colleges and saying, well, I can get a job, but I want a better life. I want entrepreneurship. I want big money, bigger money. And the confusion is they have to understand the two don't correlate. Another honorable mention, Willy Wonka syndrome. Pick me, golden ticket. I have the lottery ticket mentality. Is some of us want to make it big. They want to hit big. They want to go viral. We want to do big sales. We want to blow up. We want to write one song and it becomes a hit. We want to design one T-shirt and it becomes a bestseller. We want to write one book and it blows up. It's a Willy Wonka pick me mentality. It's a highly likelihood that shit's not going to happen. You're playing a lottery. You're playing entrepreneurship lottery, and that shit rarely, if ever, works. And it's not sustainable. So even if you hit the lottery, if you happen to hit the lottery, you just hit a hype cycle. And you better know how to maintain that hype cycle after it drops down. You better know how to entrepreneur because your work begins. So we talked about that last class. Is that's been embedded in us from school. We gotta raise our hands. If we want to be, you have to submit your resume and get picked for the interview. Everything in life has taught you to raise your hand and wait to be called on or wait to be picked. But in entrepreneurship, you are the fucking lottery. You create the lottery. You build it. It's on you. White man is out to get me. Here's another honorable mention. The white man. The white man. The white man. The white man. The white man is not. In today's society, that's more of a boogeyman story than it is reality. It's like in the hood where it was the dude who used to knock everybody out, and he was super buff and he was tough and he did this and he did that, which could be absolutely true. And he goes and he gets locked up for a long time, and his stories and his legend is carries and it's big. And when he comes out, he old. But the fear still can loom in a lot of people's lives, and he can still run the block for a good 10 years just based on the fear people have of the story. But if somebody actually stood up to the dude, it whoop his ass, which it happens sometimes. The youngster who don't know nothing about the story, never heard about it or care, and then he be like, man, these youngsters out here crazy. It's because stories carry emotion, and emotion creates fear. So it's the same when it comes to us building businesses and the white man. No, just we're in a society today, like I said, where you have more opportunity than ever to build something, make mistakes, build it, make mistakes, crash something, throw it in the trash, start over, and keep going because of the internet more than ever. Last one, last honorable mention. My respect is more important than getting money. Us as black folks have this respect currency, what I call it. It's respect currency. It's because of our underlying and in our history and our past, we weren't afforded a lot. But one thing we can control is our respect. Respect amongst each other, respect amongst our peers, respect amongst everyone. It's respect. So we built this respect currency. But a lot of times nowadays, that currency is so corrupted that it supersedes our ability to make good decisions and generate revenue. Because some people will rather have respect than income, respect in a business, respect than a growing business. If you disrespect me, then then it's up, right? If you disrespect me, then it's up. Or if a customer comes in and he's not happy, you say something sideways to me, then we will risk our freedom over the respect. That's the that. So a lot of times we interrupt our days, our weeks, our months, moving in a space of respect. And the underlying energy is low self-value, that we don't value ourselves high enough. We don't love ourselves enough so that anytime somebody says something slick, sideways, out of pocket, that's our first response because our value is low. We don't love it, so it hurts our feelings. It hurts us. So I got to hurt them. I got to hurt you. You hurt me. Any questions on that? So that leads us to the next one. Next slide. The danger of adherence. So what adherence is in entrepreneurship is this. If you were brought up and you went from college or after high school to the working world, you transferred the level of rules from one establishment to the other. So you've been in rules your whole life, following rules. People telling you what to do. What's my task? What am I to do? What are my rules? What's the specs? How do I do my job? What happens if I don't do it right? Where are all my levers? What gets me punished? What gets me fired? So you figure out how to operate within that ecosystem of a job, and that's how you do your job. A lot of times in entrepreneurship, well, most of us who want to transfer from working to entrepreneurship, who have that rules mentality, is stuck in your mind. Your desire is to be told what to do. You want to be told what to do. A lot of us act like we don't, but we want to be told what to do. It makes it easy. It makes our system 1 brain not have to do a whole bunch of thinking or transfer it to system 2. Give me my list of shit to do and I'll do it. Entrepreneurs, they think different. They don't want to be told what to do. They want to be told what is the underlying dynamic strategy underneath what you're telling me to do. What is the dynamic strategy beneath what you're telling me to do? Meaning, what's the why behind this heuristic? What's the why? Because entrepreneurs know that the likelihood of things happening exactly like this 100% of the time is low. So I need to know the why in case environment changes and I have to run an audible, I have to change, I have to adjust so that I can still get the right outcome without having a formula. Like, beginning entrepreneurs, they still get stuck in that recipe mentality. Give me the 10 steps of being an entrepreneur. Give me the 5 steps of how to do this. Let me do this. Tell me exactly what to do. Step by step by step by step. Tell me what to do. So they're approaching entrepreneurship with an employee mindset. And that's a recipe for fucking disaster. And God forbid that shit works for you. Because if that person who gave you the recipe can't get on the phone with you or doesn't exist anymore and you run into a problem, you're fucked. That's why you don't just steal recipes. You have to understand why the recipe works. So if you want to play this entrepreneur game, stop asking for step-by-step recipes or prescriptions in business. Dig deep into the thought process, the why behind it. Because plus, we're different as humans. If I'm a man and you're a woman, the chemical reactions in our brains are slightly different. Where we come from is different. How our motivations are different. Our inspirations are different. Our psychology, our level of intelligence, our capacity, all of that is completely different. So what may work for you may completely fail for somebody else. That's how they get you in a lot of self-help classes. All they need is one person to say, this shit worked for me. All they need is one. So you typically, the 1 or 2 people that it works for is a person that's so closely like them. Similar rhythms and patterns. So all they needed was just a couple extra tips to push them over the hump and boom, they're there. So you got your success stories. And your cognitive dissonance kicks in and your competitive nature kicks in to say, well, if it can work for this dude in the stand sitting next to me, why not me? So that's how I'm going to pay for that. I'll pay that extra money for this seminar. The question earlier before we got here was, what do you think about Eric Thomas, right? And now I answered that, it's part of that kind of pop science shit, like that pop self-help movement. I 100% agree. I add to it, though. And my additions to it is everybody needs to be motivated. We all need motivation. We all need inspiration. But I view it as you need air. Just like it's like motivation is like air. We all need it until we got it. And then what? Once you get all the air you need, then what? What this kind of genre does is just saying all you need in life is motivation. You're like, well, I'm already breathing. I don't need nothing else. No, but you need motivation. I need to eat now. But no, eat motivation. No, I don't need to eat motivation. I need to eat food. No, I need to sleep. No, sleep motivation. No, bro, I already got enough motivation. And that's what that culture does. It's saying everything you need to be successful is motivation. Nah, it's just 10% of what I need. And that's where the issue is. So the reason why we call this the danger of adherence is that you got to learn how to fish. And not only how to fish, what kind of fish swim in your lake? What's the temperature of the water? What do those fish that are in your water like to eat? What's their favorite food? What does the top of the lake look like when fish are underneath? Is it little ripples, big ripples? When are those fish mating? When are they fighting? What's the threats to the fish? Once you understand all those things, that allows you to be a master fisher woman or fisherman. Most of us just say, where do I throw this at? Show me the steps. And then we'll be like, well, why the fuck am I not where I want to be? Why isn't my business taking off? It's because you have a business full of recipes that somebody passed down to you that you cannot replicate all the way, so you can't get the same results. It's a book I'm reading from Nassim Taleb, and it really breaks it down super dope about how fucking hard it is to forecast and predict something as simple as balls on a pool table. The first ball you hit, you can pretty much predict where it's going to go. Even the second one. You can hit, if the ball hits one and then it hits a second ball, you can kind of predict the angle and where that ball is going to land and when it's going to slow down. But when you get to 9 balls, it's absolutely no fucking way. When you get to 64 balls, you have to literally know the gravitational pull of stardust outside of this galaxy or this solar system in order to calculate where it's going to go. We can't predict that. That's why you can't follow other people's recipes. You got to take the general recipe and you got to work it. You got to work it. So remember this. Employees want rules. Entrepreneurs, they want strategy, and they want to know the why and the how underneath the strategy. Beginning entrepreneurs, they want rules that sound like strategy so they can feel good. Don't do that. Ask why. Be a kid. Be a little kid. Well, why? Well, why do you do it that way? Why? Well, why that? If the person teaching you don't know, then they are just using a recipe they got from somebody else. So, all right, moving on.
You have one question online, but I want to just add one small quick thing on motivation. And Corey, you train, I think in the morning, right? You lift weights in the morning, and you play basketball. You run a company, you raise children, sons, daughters, family man, and teach this class. I'm willing to bet all the money I have in the bank that you ain't motivated all the time. I'm willing to bet that you only motivated maybe 10 to 20% of the time. So when we bank so much weight on motivation, but the reality is that when you achieve a long-term goal, 90% of that journey will have no motivation. You have to have a bigger You have to have a bigger reason or purpose or understanding where you're going. But seeking motivation is like seeking happiness at every turn of life. I have a daughter that's 3.5, and they tell you instantly that raising children is not all fun. But you signed up for that, and so. It's a reality that I think these motivational speakers put so much weight on motivation, but they disconnected us. They're making us almost fragile because we think if we don't have motivation, we shouldn't be doing it anymore. Not realizing that there's no such thing as long-term motivation. No such thing. Okay, but with that being said, you have a question. There was a question asked: is there a form of entrepreneurship, franchise, et cetera, that is better suited for certain people?
Well, franchising is a big business. It's a big business. And so I say Yes, there is, because not everybody, everybody is different. Like I said, some people they feel smarter investing their money in a franchise that's suited for them. Again, you can fall into the same trap, thinking that all I have to do is follow this specific exact model and it's going to work. You still have to look at your landscape and see the differences in your market and understand the whys behind that franchise. Franchises certain franchises can add value because basically what you're doing is you're using all of the marketing and branding power of another company without having to do the branding work. And so you can sell the product and or service or whatever it is under the umbrella of a branding monster that's already established itself and done all the work. So again, it all depends on you, who you are, where you're at, how much energy, time do you want to spend, like what's your goals, what's your end state goals, what's your end goals to really evaluate if that's a smarter move for you. But it's an opportunity and it's there. But I have friends who've bought into franchises and drunk the Kool-Aid because they went to a particular class where they talked about that seminar and said how easy it is to cut and paste a particular franchise, and they spent the $50,000, $60,000, $100,000 or whatever that amount was, and they set up shop somewhere, and in a year it was over. Because if you have an employee mindset going into a franchise, that franchise is going to fail. It's just real. You still have to understand the whys. When I went to Kentucky Fried Chicken in China, it wasn't the same menu. It wasn't the same menu. They served rice and rice rolls and all kind of shit that I didn't see in America. So understand that even within strict rules of a franchise, if you don't know the whys and the hows, then you'll end up cutting and pasting into the wrong situation. All right, next slide. All right, let's talk ego as the enemy. So if you are getting into this book, I suggest you run through it. This is the book we're going to be speaking on. The title of it is called Ego as the Enemy. It's an excellent book. To me, this is a buster for a lot of those 10 reasons why black folks are struggling financially. This breaks a lot of that up. It'll fuck with you emotionally, I ain't gonna lie. Once you read it, it's gonna fuck with you. You're gonna need a pick-me-up. But I still feel like this is a valuable book because it helps you clearly see some of the reasons why we're stuck and we're slow. And if you are introspective enough, it can allow you to see where ego is interrupting in your own growth. So the title of the book is Ego is the Enemy. Y'all got that? You good? All right, next slide. Ego is not the enemy. The reason why I say this is there's going to be some moments where it's going to feel hypocritical. So I don't want you demonizing your ego or realizing my ego is horrible, my ego is the enemy. The title of the book is great for shock purposes, but for the sake of this class, understand, ego is not your enemy. Ego can work for you. It's your friend. It's when ego gets out of control or when ego is leading you, when ego is making the decisions for you, when the space between stimulus and response, if ego is a person that always is answering that call, that's when you fucked. But it's not your enemy. because you need a certain level of ego at certain stages of your life just for you to stand, for you to believe in yourself, for you to take action, for you to move. We're talking about motivation. Again, the reason why I think so many people make so much money in that self-help category based on motivation is clinically most of us in America are depressed. We're depressed. So we suffer from a lot of us suffer from depression. So if I can get you from depression to motivated, that's huge, right? It's big. And you're feeling good and you're feeling better. But they package it as entrepreneur courses, or they package it as you're going to make more money, or they package it as you're going to be more successful. But really, what motivation really does, it helps bring you from depression past the threshold of like, okay, now I can do it. But that's it. That's all. So a lot of times, ego is a starter. It's like starter fuel. It's like a spark. It's a spark for you, but you cannot let ego move beyond that. And that's where it becomes super dangerous. You have a question. I see you percolating over there.
Testing. So I would think that to swap out ego for integrity, to learn to have the building blocks to understand what really makes you a solid person instead of the superficial things that, yeah, to a degree, it does need to gleam. You look presentable, or you know, all the things that go along with ego, and also flash dressing and things like that. So I find that integrity tends to work a little bit better, and it's a lot of people who don't have integrity, so it's really hard to build.
So, yeah, integrity is a solid emotion to have. Again, ego can come from a space of, if somebody tells you your stuff is not good enough, get out of here. Your stuff is not good enough. You ain't going to make it in this town, right? You ain't going to make it in this town. There's some times where your ego can serve you. Absolutely. It's when you don't know when to let the ego go and bring your humility in. So, again, it's not the enemy. It's not your enemy. That thing's going to be with you your whole life. The question is, what role does it play? Is it your dominant voice? Is it the voice in the back? Is it closer to you? Is it loud? Is it light? That's what it is. What relationship do you have with your ego? Does it not have a filter? Does it not have brakes to allow you to really think through with your system 2 brain and say, what's the right move? I remember I took a college class when I was young, and it was I told you before, I was trying to get a job in the Silicon Valley in the tech world, and I was a teenager. I was a knucklehead, lightweight, but I was trying. And so I took this course, and it was a 1.5-year course, but it was technical. It was electronics. It was computer science. It was trigonometry, calculus. And people that looked like me didn't take those classes. But I had a hookup on the other side. My boy said if I just passed, he'd get me the job. So I did it. After a couple classes, the dean brings me into his office. I'm only, mind you, didn't get good marks on the first couple classes. Dean brings me into the office, white dude, Dungeons and Dragons kind of white guy, right? He sits me down, he says, Court, why are you wasting your mama's money? Your mama's money. Just quit. Just quit. Save, because that's all it's going to do is rack up student loans, and you ain't going to pass. You ain't going to make it. And why are you wasting your mama's money? To me, that was like the N-word to me. So I was like, okay, all right. You don't think I'm going to make it because the way I look, all right. So I said, no, I'm staying. He's like, why are you, like, dude, just do us all a favor. I walked out of that office. I don't think I got a B. I think I got an A on everything for him because that was my ego. My ego said, no, I'm whooping that ass just based on, this is for my ancestors. You know what I'm saying? You devalue my intelligence based on how I look, so this is for me and all my ancestors, and we getting A's for every fuck. And I ended up being on the fucking honor roll, and he had to put the little honor roll thing on me. Yeah, do it right. No, that's not the right spot. I need you to move it over to the left, motherfucker. Look at me in my eyes too when you do it. So ego can serve you in small doses, but yes, again, remember. Ego can be devastating to you. And that's the beauty of entrepreneurship. One day I may say A, it's A. All the alphabets, you got to go A. And 2 days later, I'm like, it's F. It's F. And as entrepreneurs, we have to be agile enough to move in those spaces. Because at level 1, it might be A. But at level 4, it is F. So remember that. So, yes.
How do you apply a well balance of ego and humility to your business? How can I use ego to my benefit in marketing, negotiation, etc.?
That's what we're going to talk about in the class. That's what today is about. Exactly how to do that. The first thing, remember, if your ego is inflated, that's why the first slide was ego is the enemy. And then the second slide was ego is not the enemy. Because if your ego is out of control, which I suspect a lot of us, our egos are, you got to kill it first. You got to kill it the best way you can. You have to demonize it almost. And then once you do that, you got to break yourself down to build yourself back up. So once you realize, okay, damn, my ego's out of control. Okay, damn it. All right. What do I got to do now? That same question you're asking is a beautiful question because I know the space you're in right now when you're asking it. Is because I've been being led by my ego this whole time. How do I balance that now? And that's what we're going to talk about.
Another question is, a late mentor of mine once said, a little bit of arrogance is okay. What do you think about that?
A little bit of arrogance is okay, is what your late. I don't believe in the entrepreneur world, arrogance is healthy unless it's a strategy, unless it's a tool. But if it's a part of your nature to be arrogant as an entrepreneur, I don't think that's a winning way of moving. Entrepreneurship is a humble man's game. Entrepreneurship is a humble woman's game. It is. You have to be emotionally agile, open, observant, learning, keenly aware, completely introspective in order for you to thrive and grow, because it's damn near impossible to predict anything as an entrepreneur. So the best way to move is you're moving right behind hindsight. How did that work? Let me make an adjustment. How did that work? Let me make an adjustment. Let me be learning and reading along the way and improving. Oh, that didn't work. Let me move here. That didn't work. Let me adjust here. You're constantly making adjustments and realizing that you fucked up on the last thing you did. So if you're not in a space of humility constantly, it's going to be hard to entrepreneur. And if you move in with a space of arrogance where people think you're, if you truly are arrogant, good luck. Again, if arrogance is a strategy, meaning behind that arrogance, you're actually super humble and you're always learning, you're always improving, and you're always building relationships, and then it's completely different. And that arrogance benefits you, meaning it adds value to you, cool, but I don't necessarily agree with your homeboy.
So would long-term motivation just be wanting to achieve a goal? That question comes from Michael.
No. I don't know the definition of long-term motivation, because motivation is not like a, you have two different types of carbs, and you have simple carbs and complex carbs, and simple carbs are the ones like sugar and candy, and it gives you that emotional jolt for a little while, and like 15 minutes later you want to go to sleep. And complex are like rice and noodles and all that stuff. You can last throughout the day. Motivation is a simple carb. It's a simple carb. It's not a complex carb. So long-term and motivation, those two words don't even go together, because you can be motivated today and depressed by the end of the day. If something knocks you off, or you hear bad news, or you could have been hella juiced. You could have did all your little motivational exercises you learn in the seminars, and I'm happy, I'm good, and this and that. And you walk out and something hits you in the face, boom. You crying. You back down. The fucking world is over. Like, I'm terrible. I'm laughing because I've done that shit. That's why motivation is a simple carb. It's not a complex carb. So purpose in business like if your business goals are tied to your purpose, which we'll talk about more later, then that's a complex carb. You can feed off of that for a long time. Sometimes not get tired, and not you want to stay up. You got to force yourself to go to sleep because you got so much energy, and then when you close your eyes, you running the whole movie. You're dreaming about it. That's a complex. That's a complex carb. That's when you tie your purpose and mix it with your end state success goals.
What's the difference between ego and self-confidence?
Oh yeah, we're gonna talk about that later on today too. The difference between ego. The question is, what's the difference between ego and self-confidence? Yeah, that we're gonna get deep into that. Remember, but here's a couple things. Your ego is your false sense of self. I'm getting my Buddhist bag right now. Your ego is your false sense of self. So it starts off kind of on the other side of the tracks. It's your false sense of self, what you feel you deserve, all your fears. Am I gonna die? Is this gonna make me die? Like it's your false sense of self. You're gonna let him say that to you. You're gonna let her do that to you. You don't deserve this. You deserve this. You're a king. You're a queen. It's your false sense of self. I can answer that question. I know what I'm doing. I just have a knowing. I know. Well, oh, you do? Okay, well, where'd you learn? How you know? It's just common sense. Your ego tells you that you could be in the NBA or in the NFL or coach a team. Your ego is the one that's telling you that you could do that stuff. Your ego tells you can apply for a job you're not qualified for and figure it out. It's your ego. Humility says if you get that job, you just happen to get that job that you interview for and didn't know had no clue how to do it, Your humility says, I better study at night and try to figure it out. You start learning, you start asking. Let me call my homegirl or my homeboy who does the same thing and try to, get some game from him and learn from him. Hey, can I just come sit with you? Can I buy you lunch? Can I hang out with you? Can I work with you? Can I learn? And you're humble to the game so that you can learn to show up for that job that your ego got you underqualified for, so that you can ramp up successfully to get there. So I'm not saying that it can't work for you. It's just that humility better lock in. Now, confidence says you've been through every scenario. You've studied your ass off to get qualified for that job. You worked in that job, and you've been through every scenario under the sun in that job, and you got experience under your belt, and you're good. Not because you say you good, but you're good because you practice your ass off. So confidence has you showing up with your chest up and calm and poised, not because your ego says to do it. It's because I got this, because I've practiced my ass off and I've been doing this. Huge difference. Now, some of it looks the same. Again, it's like faking it to making it, right? It's posturing. Some of it looks very similar. Man, when me and Nana when I first started teaching this class with Nana, we would be at the gym working out together sometimes, 2-4, and entrepreneurs would come up and be like, okay, yeah, I know what y'all know. I could do what y'all do. I know I've read that book too. I done this, I done that. And man, it sounds so beautiful. It sounds so polished coming out of a brother's mouth, particular brother. And I'm like, my brain like, man, I should be learning from you then. Talk to me, brother. You got it. And Nana had been down this road enough times to know and could sniff the shit out. I didn't. I just like, man, it sounds good. Like, maybe he should come teach the class with us, Nana. And he'd be like, hold on. What'd you say you doing again? Well, I got this. I wrote a book, and I got this fitness company, and I got these supplements, and I got this drink that'll make you, be more healthy. Okay. That's dope. So where are you at with the first one? Like, what's the revenue generation? Like, how big is the company? Well, I just got prototypes. I'm just prototypes. I'm still in the testing phase. Oh, okay, no problem. All right, cool. What was the other one? The multivitamin company. Oh, where is that? Like, what's the volume of that company? How big is it? Oh, well, I'm still working on my distribution. And by the time we get to the fourth company, this motherfucker hasn't even gotten one of them off the ground. I'm like, motherfucker, you bamboozled me, like, because it sounds so good and the confidence was so good. That's the difference. So that's why a lot of times it just feels better to stay in that space of arrogance, ego, and posturing, because you can fool 80% of the world, and you'll be internally unhappy and potentially miserable, potentially depressed because you ain't accomplished anything, but you can still get the highs and the dopamine of the outside world patting you on the back and being affected by what they say.
Maybe this is segueing, but as you were, the last 3 points you just made, it made me think about, I was reading about Steve Jobs last night, and people talk about how great of an idea person he was. And when you think about like the Black community, sometimes I see that there's a lot of great ideas. Like, it's not that the idea is not sound. Sometimes the idea is not sound. But there's the gap between that and like flawless execution and the drive to keep going to refine the idea is something that we don't really talk much about. Like, there's very little focus on how it's not like idea to millions. It's like, you got to practice, like, you have to get your execution to a place that's flawless, not like your ideas to a place that's flawless, because there's great ideas everywhere, but do you really do them? And I'm just wondering how, like you said, the gentleman, he talked well, right? And it all sounds good, but it sounds like you were asking him execution questions, not necessarily idea questions, and he couldn't answer you on the execution questions. I could be missing a whole lot in there. Maybe I'm oversimplifying it, but that's just, I'm curious about that.
Yes, so psychology behind that is this. If I come to Shabisha or to any one of you and say, hey, I have this amazing idea. This idea is going to make millions, multi-millions, maybe billions. And you're like, what? What is it? That's tension at that point. And that tension in those moments, everyone gets high. Almost like you smoked on something, or you took a hit of ecstasy or whatever. Because that dopamine is like the tension, the idea, the opportunity, the possibility of making millions of dollars. That's the high in that moment. Okay, well, what is the idea? And then you present the idea in its most basic general form. No details, but just the possibilities. And those even sound great. You could tell that to many people, lots of people. And A, you're a genius. B, your social status goes up because now the potential of you being successful and making that amount of money is like, I need that. I need to be around you. You're a mover, a shaker. You're somebody that I want to be around. The actual execution of the idea is quiet. Ain't nobody around. You by yourself. It's ugly. It's tedious. It's repetitious. It's one brick on top of another brick on top of another brick on top of another brick. And that's not exciting to talk about. So a lot of us call them dabbler entrepreneurs. Is they just go from business to business to business to business idea for the high of it. That's why occasionally, in our class, it's people who have 5 businesses, 6 businesses. Because to the outside world, to the non-educated entrepreneur world, telling somebody you have 5 businesses, they go, whoa, man, girl, you a hustler. You off the hook. You got 5 businesses? Man, look, she's a go-getter. You get all of this utility, all of this emotional surge from people telling you, versus I got one business. That's just one business. So the minute the juices or the emotional surge, or you told everybody about that business already and no one lights up anymore, then they get another business idea. And they go from business idea to business idea. So as we'll learn, the actual execution of it, it's dark. You're at home. You by yourself. You at your computer. You eating. You got food on your bed with your laptop, and this is your 4th day in a row figuring it out, working through it, putting bricks on top of bricks. Not glamorous at all. And if you've been posturing your whole life, that's like being exposed. It's like being naked. It's hard, so it's easier for one to just continue to be on that, go from like Spider-Man from one posturing to another, and you just swinging through the city on business ideas. All right. So, make it. Stop faking it. Make it. One of the Bible scriptures that I love is the one about the 3 slaves, and the master gave the 3 slaves 3 different amounts of money. I don't know if you guys know that story. One thing about it is nobody lost money. He gave one, I think he gave one 5, and then he gave one 10, I believe. It's been a minute. He gave 1 silver coin, another one like 5 coins, another one 10 coins. And he told them all, hey, I got to go on a trip. You guys take these coins, go out and flip this bread for me. I know he didn't say it like that, but it's in my head. Go flip this bread. So when he comes back, the slave that he gave 10 doubled it. Hey, you gave me 10, I got 20 for you. Good job. You were a wonderful, excellent, good job. Second one, you gave me 5, I doubled it, here's 10. Good job, excellent job, man, good job. He said, you gave me 1, it was only 1, so I didn't want to lose it, so I lightweight just buried it and just held it for you, so when you came back, you still got that 1. Now, logically, one would think, well, at least you didn't lose my money. Right? He basically, as much as the Bible can do, he cussed the motherfucker out. Called him wicked and slothful. I'm sure that's cuss words. That's cuss words. You calling somebody wicked and slothful because you didn't lose my money, you didn't make me none, you didn't go do nothing, you didn't execute. That's in the Bible. You didn't execute. I gave you 1 and you didn't execute at all. I would have rather you told me I went out, I went there, I did my thing, and I ended up losing it. That's better than you being scary and burying it and not executing at all. Like, that's the lesson. I'm sure Chris probably might be cringing, but it's the lesson for me. It's execution. Like, so stop talking about it. Stop talking. Stop faking it. Stop posturing. Stop acting like you're doing big things. Stop bragging about it. And just start doing the work. And you'll realize it's like being in the Matrix and being back in that pod. It's a stark difference. It feels different. It's not fun. Nobody's around. But what we talked about, 1%, that compound interest of work is going to give you the results that you want, as well. That shit's going to come. But focus on the work. Us as black folks got to focus on the work, the doing it. We ain't got to be seen. We ain't got to be out there. Let your work and your branding and your marketing and your company speak for you. Let that speak for you. Because honestly, nobody really gives a fuck about you like that anyway. Nobody cares. They only care what value you add to them. And if you just talking, the joke's going to be up soon. Because that talking gets addictive and it's hard to stop. It's like lying. And that lie over time, you got to tell another one and the second one. And you don't even know how you became a pathological liar. When I was younger, I used to get whoopings. I used to get whoopings every day, damn near. Not even damn near. I used to get whoopings every day. But some of the times I would get whoopings, I didn't even have to lie. What'd you do today? If I would have answered the truth, it would have been like, okay. But I had gotten to this rhythm as a kid of lying so much that I would just lie when I didn't have to. That's what we do with our businesses when we telling these stories. So stop faking it. Hey, if today was rough, today was rough. If you didn't make no money today, you didn't make no money. If last year sucked, it sucked. If you didn't make, if you lost, you lost. Once you do that, and we're gonna talk about it more, you're gonna start coming into a place what I call congruence. And congruence is a powerful place for you to be individually. Congruence. Next slide. Being right versus being effective. So, again, a lot of us value being right over it working. So in this book, this was targeted to a different crowd, but we're going to talk about it for us. With this social justice shit and all the pieces around social justice, the fights are for what's right. Right? We want to be right. That's not right. That's not fair. Equalization. We want to be treated equal. In entrepreneurship, you better throw that shit out the window. It will get you pretty much in the entrepreneur grave because it does not work. Business is not designed to be fair. Business is not designed to be right. The successful businesses are not the ones that are right. The successful businesses are the ones that are effective in their strategy and in their execution. Again, execution doesn't even have to be flawless at all. Most of the time, execution is wrong 70% of the time. It's the humility and the hindsight behind it that allows you to make adjustments constantly. Next slide.
It is one from Jordan. He said, "Is ego the enemy?" Well, let the scroll train go by. He says, "An ego is the enemy. It talks about speaking about things and writing about things you're doing and looking to accomplish, hijacks the mind. But in our community, we are told a closed mouth doesn't get fed. Is there a correlation with this?"
Yes, so thank you for that segue. Shabisha, let's go to the next slide, and we're going to answer his question. At the talk depletes us.
Talk depletes us. Talking and doing fight for the same resources. Research shows that while goal visualization is important, after a certain point, our mind begins to confuse it with actual progress. The same goes for verbalization. After spending so much time thinking, explaining, and talking about a task, we start to feel that we've gotten closer to achieving it. Or worse, when things get tough, we feel we can toss the whole project aside because we've given it our best try, although, of course, we haven't.
Okay, so closed mouth don't get fed. Is that true or is it not true? How do you feel about that? True or not true? Closed mouth don't get fed. Agree. We get some agreements. I agree too. But guess what? In that particular scenario, you trying to eat. You're trying to eat. So you're opening your mouth with the purpose of what? Getting food, eating. You ain't talking just to talk. You ain't talking to brag. You ain't posturing. You ain't doing none of that shit. You're trying to eat. Excuse me, can I have some of that? Are you going to eat that? How much is that? Can I get some of that food? Can I get a piece? Can I get some of that piece? Can I get some of that food? Like you're asking, you're opening your mouth with the purpose of executing your words to whoever's on the other side of that food to get you some. It's not talk. So remember that there's a difference. There's people who they don't talk much, but when they do, shit happens, right? They're not out there a lot talking. You rarely see them, but when they open their mouth because they have power, or they have intention behind their words, or when they say what's going to happen, it happens because there's a high level of integrity, like the sister said here, high level of integrity to their words. Now it's not just talk. So you want to execute an action that's associated with your talk. That's the difference. So if you notice, like we're inside a marketing and branding firm. doing this class. They generate revenue based on their mouthpiece, words, talk. But it's with an intention to do what? To convert a crowd. To convert them to what? To do whatever we want them to do. Purchase, buy, vote, change their mindset, create a way, whatever. But when you're talking about what you're going to do, here's the thing. This is a gold nugget. Honestly, this is a gold nugget. Talking and doing fight for the same resources. That is so huge for you to grasp your mind around if you grasp your mind around it. Everything we do as humans is connected to our brain. All our actions, all our body movements, everything is connected to certain parts of our brain, the frontal lobe, cortex, all these different areas of our brain to send commands to take action. That's why you can simulate certain things to trick your brain to think that it's actually doing things. Have you ever been in a flight simulator that surrounds you and it feels real? You ever put on VR glasses and motherfuckers coming at you, you start windmilling, you forget that it's a game. Because you can trick your brain. It's called click word responses. There's certain click word responses that can trick your brain into thinking that action is being actually taken. So when you're opening your mouth saying you're doing big things, your brain is like, oh, okay, shit, well, cool. I love that. If we doing big things like this, then this is good. I don't have to do no extra work. So now your brain at night is not thinking of how to execute, how to add value, how to make changes, how to improve, how to generate revenue, how to make sales. Your brain, that part of your brain is shut off because it already absorbed the resources and listened to you tell somebody else you're doing big things. It listens to you. You got to understand that your brain is listening and not observing, but it's listening to you and making movements and responding accordingly. It gets deep. Here's the only other example I can give you. Have you ever been around somebody who lies like a motherfucker, but when they lie, they do certain shit? They scratch their neck, they scratch something, they look to the left, they look down, you do the head scratch is the big one. Oh yeah, well I took the trash out. Now, I've studied why people do that. You ever study why the people do that? It's because your body, your brain and your mind likes truth. It can't handle truth without some kind of outlet. It's like it's saying bullshit. You sitting over here lying. Now, not saying that you can't forcibly train yourself to sit there and straight face look somebody in the eye and lie, because you absolutely can. But unconsciously, if you just relax and unconscious, you start lying, your body chemistry, everything changes. You get weaker and your body's like, hey, something's going wrong because I'm not in congruence with what I just said. That's why blind affirmations don't work. If you're depressed and you look in the mirror and you're like, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy, you get more depressed because your body's like, fuck no, I'm not. This is horrible. So that's why integrity is powerful. That's why if you go out there saying you're doing big things, I'm doing this, I got these big things going on. Now, it doesn't mean you got to show your cards to everybody either in business. That's not a good idea either. But what I'm saying is talking and doing, they fight for the same mental, emotional, physical resources. So if you say enough times that you're doing big things, then parts of you that will be working for you to help you get to your goal is going to shut down. This is the realest shit I ever wrote in this moment. The minute I stopped talking and telling people what I was going to do and just start doing it, like, man, where's Court? I don't know. Things change for me. I guarantee you, if you're on Instagram, day one, y'all, okay, this is my weight loss journey, day one, that is not gonna work. Stop telling people what you're doing. You never make it to day 15, 16. I rarely, if ever, see anybody who does that make it to day past the first week. When have you? Honestly, it don't work. Stop doing it. Just double down on yourself. Put all that energy into your execution. This is probably the most powerful thing we're going to talk about tonight in this book. Talking and doing fight for the same resources. So why has somebody passed you up that you potentially got more intelligence than, better products, is because you're always talking about the shit. Stop. Just do it. Let them think you fell off. Let them think you fell off. So what? Who cares? Let them think you fell off. Important.
I have a question. It could be a bit out of context where you're going here, but I'll ask it anyway. There is a popular saying, you could probably pull it up on the internet, that basically talks about not doing too hastily. It's like, I would spend, if I only had an hour, I would spend, I don't know who said this, but it's like I would spend most of my time considering the problem. And then I would do less of the time, right? So my question is, like, could that kind of thinking be a version of talk?
So this shows you how my brain, how much of that shit I've read. Stephen Covey from the 7 Habits of Effective People says, if I had like 7 hours to chop down a tree, I'd spend 6 sharpening my saw. I know, I've read the, yes. Sharpening your saw is important, but like I said, we talk ready, fire, aim. We are ready. We are ready, fire, aim. Entrepreneurs are ready, fire, aim. Meaning you get ready, but then you fire, and then you make your adjustments after that, and then you do it again. So by the time, if I have that mentality, ready, fire, aim, and the next person is sitting there trying to perfect it, and I've already passed that person up because I've improved 5, 6, 7 times over. You don't, like, because guess what? No matter how meticulous and perfect and flawless you think your first pass is, it's going to be trash 6 months later. You're going to look back and laugh at it. It's going to be trash. So if that statement is beautiful and perfect for an employee environment, which is, we don't make mistakes. You don't make mistakes. You better not make a mistake. You're going to get written up. Or if you're in school, you're going to get your name on the board. And if you get 2 checks on your name, then you go to the principal's office and then it's detention. You better not. So they create this bullshit perfection mindset. I lived in detention in high school. I lived in detention. Damn near, my mom thought I got home at 4:30. Every day she thought school got out at 4:30. Because I couldn't live within the rules. But understand this. That mentality is for you to be a great employee. Because if I had an employee who was like that hard, and they had a specific task that they had to do, I'm not gonna fight you. But entrepreneurship, that you wouldn't. That's what has us stuck. That's what has us stuck.
Well, can we separate ego from thought experiments? So the principle of thought experiments is you think it completely out and you build it virtually in your brain, and then you go out and act, right? So if you're delaying because you have a thought experiment, what they call active patience. So you're planning on acting, and you're just taking a process. You're creating a process before you act to map out all the possible things you could experience in the process of building a new system, structure, or whatever. That's a scientific technique of building. What Court just said is, I want to separate that, because the other side, what he's addressing is procrastination and what's popular in our community, which I think Court is excellent at keeping his finger on the pulse. That a lot of people stay in their house doing vision boards for the next 5 years, and they never walk outside the living room. But when you, like Court said earlier, this is important. He said he may tell you A, not F at the beginning, but when you reach the next stage, it's F, not A. And so that's a prime example of what he taught earlier, how depending on where you are in your evolution strategy, that strategy would literally flip.
Yes, yeah, and that's the ready part, right? Ready, fire, aim. So it's not aim. I mean, it's not fire, aim. It's ready, fire, aim. So that ready part means you still get ready as much as you can. You prepare as much as you can. You prepare. You run your thought experiment, and you put your best mind to the strategy to prepare to execute. But you don't live there. You don't spend extra time there. You go and tweak. All right. We're just gonna sit on this slide and we're gonna marinate on it. If nobody knows what that is, anybody got questions on what this acronym is? Okay, so this acronym, for those who might be unclear, is St. Francis University. It means shut the fuck up. It's we need to shut the fuck up. We talk too much. We just do. We got to shut the fuck up. We know it all. We knew it. I got it. Can't nobody tell me nothing. We just stuck on so many of those that we talk way more than what we hear, and we struggling. So I remember the first time a grown man told me, while I was a grown man, to shut the fuck up. Straight up, and I was blown away. I was flabbergasted. And we were in a work environment. Our supervisor told him to train me, and I'm a know-it-all. Can't tell me nothing. I know it. And I was a type that I would cut you off a few words into your sentence to finish your sentence to let you know that I know what you was about to say. You couldn't even finish a sentence around me when I was that young. And 3-4 days into our training, the person who was training me said he just couldn't control it. I'm twice his size. I beat the shit out of him in life, but he didn't care. He just shut the fuck up. I was like, what? What? No one's ever told me that before. I wanted to take him outside and all this shit, and let's lose our jobs over this ass whooping you about to get. But when I hit my 30s and I thought about that, I was like, I would have told me to shut the fuck up too. Because like we talk too much. And as entrepreneurs, this is detrimental to us. No one wants to mentor you if you know everything. Let's go. That takes us to the next slide.
Doing great work is a struggle. It's draining, it's demoralizing, it's frightening. Not always, but it can feel that way when we're deep in the middle of it. We talk to fill the void and the uncertainty. Void, Marlon Brando, a quiet actor, if there ever was one, once said, is terrifying to most people. It is almost as if we are assaulted by silence or confronted by it, particularly if we've allowed our ego to lie to us over the years.
The void to the ego is tantamount to death. That's the feeling. Almost like you're drowning. Like you're suffocating. Like somebody put a bag over your face and you're fighting to breathe. That's how the void feels. Because you're uncertain about how somebody feels about you, or you're not trying to control the space. You can't control the space. You can't throw your ego out in the space to control it. It's terrifying. What if nobody thinks I'm the best person in the room or the smartest person in the room? What if people don't know how good I am, how smart I am, how efficient I am, how much I know? And that question to the ego is terrifying. So I gotta jump in here. I gotta open my mouth. I gotta say something. I gotta. The most dangerous person in the room most of the time is the quietest. They observe everything. Everything, all the nuances, all the microaggressions, all the liars and the crackhead. They know, they can read the room. You cannot read the room if you're talking. How can you make a pitch to anyone if you're doing most of the talking? In sales, they say the person who talks the most what? Loses. We got an ex-Audi guy in the back. He knows. He ate good at Audi. So I'm sure that's a real statement. People who always gotta, you can manipulate a person's ego with their desire to be the smartest, best, fastest, most liked person in the room. You can manipulate the hell out of this person and get them to buy all the upgrades. Okay, well, you balling like that, well, then you don't mind paying extra for this, right? And you won't mind this upgrade then, Mr. Baller. And the ego will let them stick to it. Understand this. The best place to be a lot of times is quiet. This is the part of the book where I start crying. It'll break you down, It'll break you down. Us as you'll be surprised how powerful you become. For a minute, the transition is going to feel like you're going through rehab. You're going through withdrawals. I had to do it. I swear to you, like it was a period where I had to go through withdrawals. It feels like withdrawals, like alcoholic withdrawals. You want to say something, you don't, you just want it. Like people don't know me. Your ego is like, the people in here don't know me. And soon over time, you build that muscle, that quiet muscle, to where now you're just observing. So now when you do speak, you got something valuable to say. What do you think? And then you just start spitting game from everything you observed. And now now it happens. Now I want to ask you the questions. What do you think? It's simple, it's easy. STFU. If, like you say, closed mouth don't get fed. If you're not trying to get fed in that moment, meaning if you're not marketing, if you're not branding yourself, if you're not selling anything, and this is all posturing and ego, you're not trying to get fed, close your mouth. Just close it.
There is a great question. And it's still being thought about, but we're going to start. What are some tips for dealing with the withdrawal during the shut the fuck up phase?
Hey, you know what's funny? I'll be 100%. I ain't been no angel, right, in my life. I've made a lot of mistakes and done a lot of shit that I've had to recover or heal from or quit addictions from. So I've lived a life where I've had to stop addictions, right, break addictions, for me to be a better person, a better human, to be successful. And the cold part about this is stopping this felt the same as trying to quit smoking weed. It's the same energy. It almost feels the same withdrawal energy. Or breaking up in a relationship where you know you ain't supposed to be messing with this girl and breaking it off, and the feeling of like trying to justify why you should, and maybe just one more time or just this or that. That same justification feeling, that same fight that your ego fights inside of you is the same feeling, exact same feeling when it's time to shut the fuck up. Your brain justifies why the crowd needs to hear what you got to say. No. They need to hear this. You're probably the only one that knows this. You got to say this part. Nope. And it's hard, but there's no. The only thing that I can say is you got to think about what you're losing by opening your mouth, and that's you're depleting your resources. Regardless of what I say in this moment, I'm depleting my resources. If what I got to say doesn't put food on my plate right now, I'm depleting resources. If I have this urge to tell everybody what I'm going through in life, I'm depleting resources. No, but listen, there might be one person out there who's going through the same thing that could benefit from what I'm going through. Shut the fuck up. No. Because what you lose in that, what you gain in that one person, you lose in your own progress, in your own growth, in your own improvement. That's your ego talking. And your ego is like the slickest talking. It's like the Mac in the movie. Your ego is so slick. It's the Mac. Because the reason why it's the Mac and it's the biggest pimp, because it knows you. It knows all your buttons. So the you, the spirit you, the energy that's inside this, that's operating this meat suit, you, is the you that has to be like, nah, I'm depleted. I know it depletes me. Can't even understand why or exactly how all this works, but I know it's depleting me. So I set a goal to not do it, so I'm not going to do it. Second way you can do it is create a timeline. Because sometimes if you can't, your brain will try to justify things so well that it leaves you no more reasons to where you're like, well, I got to do it now. But if you say, nope, for the next 30 days, I'm only going to speak if somebody asks me a question on my opinion. For the next 30 days, and I'm going to see how that works. How that's worked for me, that's my sweet spot. That's why I'm not prescribing it to you, because that works for me. Because my brain is cold. My brain could, I've read so much and I've learned so much and I've done so much that my brain could be on any side of any position mentally. And it makes logical sense to me. So I can't listen to my brain's justifications. What I typically do will say, all right, well, for the next 30 days, I'm going to do X, or I'm going to stop doing X, and then I'm going to check in and see how it feels. And if I'm better from it, then that means I got to kill it, or I'm going to continue it.
Tavita asked, so then how do you balance shut the fuck up with leveraging to, I think she's with the leverage, I think she's rethinking her question. I'm going to go to the next one. I'll come back to it.
Okay.
This one says, I have been working on this in the last year and find myself more successful at it in some situations, but not others. I'm wondering what is keeping me from doing it in any situation.
I think I have ideas, but I could be making major assumptions because of that, because I'm just reading that. So I don't want to give you advice that doesn't add value. But first thing I'll say is introspection. At the end of it, evaluate it and look for patterns. Is it a same specific person that you fail at? We'll call it fail. Is it a specific type of person, or is it the same person, or are you in a certain space of maybe that person has a certain authority over you, or maybe you're attracted to that person, or there's something there that has a ruminating pattern there that allows you to lose that aspect of yourself in those moments. But you got to introspect and take notes on that introspection to look for patterns, and then have a strategy for it. Okay, this is what I'm gonna do next time. So I know that this type of person overrides my ability to shut the fuck up. So I'm gonna add this extra thing in place for this person next time. Like, you play chess with yourself and come up with strategies based on patterns and rhythms and observance, but massive introspection afterward. Whenever I mess up or I do something, man, I failed at that. First, I sit back and think, what can I learn? What can I learn from this? How can I get better? Then I call somebody. Hey, check this out. This is what I just did. What do you think? And either it's alignment with my own introspection or it's a whole new idea. Man, I just got into it with my staff. Fuck. I should have stayed more calm. What triggered me? What triggered me? Oh, this triggered me. Okay, fuck. All right, well, what do I do next time? And I come up with a strategy. Then I call a friend. I call a homie. I call Nana. Hey, Nana, we talking? All right, check this out. This is a scenario. This is what happened. Well, give me some backstory on this, that, the other. Okay, well, have you thought about this? Oh, shit, I didn't think about that. Maybe it is that too. Constant introspection. So you got ready, you fired, you missed. Now re-aim it again and get ready again. But that aiming, the time between the aim and the ready again is introspection, new strategy, and sometimes, and a lot of times, getting outside input.
Hey, can I add one? Because I'm an extrovert. So what helps me shut the fuck up? I can't believe you set me up. What helps me shut the fuck up is learning to do things by yourself or engage with boredom. So like when you're working out, don't work out with other people, work out by yourself. Go for long walks by yourself. Go jog by yourself. Go cycle by yourself. Go to the movies by yourself. You'll build a healthy relationship with yourself. When you first do it, it's gonna be uncomfortable. It's gonna almost feel like somebody's stabbing you with a needle as you walk down the street because you feel almost irritated with it. But after a while, and the reason this is so important, Eagle's enemy about shut the fuck up, is, well, you displayed all of them, but in strategy negotiations, you could talk and you talk so much you put yourself in a disadvantage because you didn't feel, hear, and listen to the room. And the more you realize, no matter how much knowledge you have, you can't read everybody. You can't read most people. And if you think you can, all you're doing is projecting. So ultimately, the ability to walk into a room, sit, listen, observe, watch patterns of behavior, watch the disconnect between what they say and what they do, watch what matters to them, watch people, And when you do open your mouth, now you're really talking to the people because you're perfectly aligned, or you're able to read who's really in the room with you. So strategically, practicing just spending time by yourself, clean your house, turn the radio off and the TV off. Just spend time in just absolute silence with self, because then you'll notice that voice in your head, and eventually you can separate self from the voice in your head.
Dope, dope. I love that. That's fire. That's fire.
Last question, or second to last. You might have already addressed this one, but Tavita's asking, so then how do you balance shut the fuck up with leveraging to create resources for your business?
Again, let's go back to the closed mouth, don't get fed example. That's damn near the theme of the night. What are you opening your mouth for? So if you're speaking to pull a lever or create a lever for yourself, that's execution. That's strategy. You're taking steps forward. That's velocity from last week's class. That's velocity. So if you're speaking, if you're creating resources, you're leveraging to create resources. What that is velocity. That is for the sake of getting fed. I'm opening my mouth to get fed, and if you call it leverage, you're saying, hey, I know you got some food over there, keep it. I might need it later, okay? So if I give you this, can I call on you to feed me later? Yeah, that's good. I like it. I'll take it. You're creating leverage. That's chess moves. That's execution, because at some point you're going to call on that. This is completely different. This is on the level of posturing. This is faking it till you make it. This is talking about what you gonna do before you do it. Now, if you want to be on the level of, sometimes you have to talk about your business to somebody in order to create velocity. That's the truth. So if you're talking to an investor and you're pitching your business, or if you're talking to a potential customer, there's a huge difference, because there's a difference in feeling. At the end of the conversation, you know the difference. Your ego ego, you got a bump. You just snorted some ego, right? Ego got a bump. That's a difference than, okay, I just made a play. It's a chess move. I just leveraged, okay, we exchanged cards. I gave him my elevator. I told him what my business is about. Because the intent in your mind is leverage. It's a huge difference. So it's not, when you guys get invited to go to those networking events, right? The reason why a lot of those networking events, because who's in the room? And what can they do? That's it. Okay, you want me to come to a networking event. Who's there? And what can they do? Most of the time, it ends up just being people hooking up with each other. Because no one has any power or leverage to pull, but not no one, but very few people have power to really make exchanges. So just know what the context is. The context is basically, what is your intent? When you're intentional and you're integral in how you speak, you speak differently. You speak at different times. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. These next two slides are pretty dope.
Be, do, have fallacy. Often we fall in love with an image of what success looks like. In Boyd's world, the number of stars on your shoulder or the nature of your appointment or its location could easily be confused as a proxy for real accomplishment. For other people, it's their job title, the business school they went to, the number of assistants they have, their access to the CEO, the size of their paycheck, or the number of fans they have.
Yo. So a lot of your ego operates on multiple currencies. Social currency is a big one. Sometimes social currency supersedes real currency to your ego. So our job titles, our degrees, all the school we went to, how much money we make, how much fans and followers we have on Instagram, that a lot of times will supersede the actual success. So back in the old personal development world, self-help world that I used to be in, I took a course called Be, Do, Have, right? It means you be what you be it. You just be it. Be it first. Imagine how a person with millions of dollars would behave. How would he walk? How would he dress? You just start acting like that. I mean, motherfuckers bought it. Like they bought into this. And then you do the behaviors. And then that's how you have it. That's the psychology. And it's so glamorous because it's like, well, then I'm going to buy the Benz first then. I'm going to buy all the Ferragamo, Gucci shit first too. Because then I'll feel that I'll look that successful. So then I'll start doing the successful stuff. And then over time, I'll just have it. It's a fallacy. Because, again, your ego will start getting high on the actual fakeness of your success instead of the actual success. Your ego will get high on the stuff. And now you're a hustler again, looking for the next lick. And that's how you get caught up in these get-rich-quick things and all the Amway and Herbalife and Forex trading and this one and that one. And every year where a new one comes, you jumping on it. And you ask, well, how much money have you made? So I don't knock Bitcoin or any of those things, but if that is a thing that you really like and you're really into it then cool. But if you're the person that's hopping on one trend to the other because you're trying to keep up a certain lifestyle, A, and B, you hustle hopping. You can never firm down and get good at anything. How much experience do you have? If you're a Forex trader, how much experience do you have at Forex trading? How many years? I'll be wanting to slap the shit out of people who call me and I'll be like, hey, it's Court. What's up, Court? How you doing? Good, how you doing? Wishing I was you. What? So you wish you would have been on this thing for like 15, 20 years then, huh? You would have been able to do that? Or you just want what you appear, what shows to you as success now. You not down to do the 20 years in the game in one business and invest all your energy, time, in learning and improving and getting better in one business. So when all the hustles come throughout the different ages, you say, oh man, you make money doing that? That's dope. That's exciting. That's good. Do I want to get in on it? Nah, I'm good. I'm going to continue to get better at this thing. When it's not popular and ain't nobody doing it and there's no celebration rooms and people handing out money and pink cars and none of that shit, you just going after it every day, getting better at that one thing that's not popular to nobody. 20 years later, you start getting a semblance of success and now you're like, I wish I was you. You don't shut the fuck up. Buckle down on something. Get better at something. Learn something. Stick with it. I don't have Bitcoin. I don't know what Forex is. I want to be a better designer and build a better athletic brand every single day. That's what I want to do. I'm gonna invest all my time, energy, money into that. year after year after year, so that if you people don't understand why or how's he making money? This shit is not as good as that, or my design's just better than Court's. Well, because you doing all this other stuff. So when you doing all this other stuff, guess what I'm working on? How to build a better apparel brand. So you don't have to be better than the next person. You just have to be focused on what you're doing, intensity of your own effort. Next slide.
Appearances are deceiving. Having authority is not the same as being an authority. Having the right and being right are not the same thing either. Being promoted doesn't necessarily mean you're doing good work, and it doesn't mean you are worthy of promotion. They call it falling upward in such bureaucracies. Impressing people is utterly different from being truly impressive.
Quick story. When I was in the corporate world, I tried to be Superman. I went hard. Because just A, I was happy to have a good job. B, that was my mentality anyway. And I went hard at that company, proving stuff, changing things, extra overtime, working hard, this, that, the other. At the end of the year, I'm thinking, I'm going to get promoted. I'm going to get that promotion. I outworked all you motherfuckers. I got my little percentage and some Home Depot gift certificates, right? Year 2, I did the same thing. Maybe they just didn't see me. I'm going to go hard. At the end of the year, good job, Court. Here's your little percentage increase, some more gift certificates for Home Depot. So I'm irritated. So I'm telling my friend about this, and he's like, who was successful in the corporate world. He was VP of the company at the time. So he said, Court, you on that black shit, right? I'm like, yeah. You show up to work every day. You wearing your hoodies, your hat backwards, your sagging pants, and your shoes to prove to them that the black man from the hood is smart and all blah, 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 blah. Yeah. That's why you ain't getting no promotion. Because you are telling them that you don't want to play within their system. They don't care how good you are. Play within their system. It's like, just do this, just mess with me. Just do this for me. For this year, just wear some khakis. You ain't gotta, you can sag them, just wear some khakis and like a shirt with a collar on it. So after arguing, I tried it. I was so bitter from not getting the promotions from the last 2 years, I didn't do shit that year. Sat around a cubicle playing video games, searching the internet, but I showed up to work with khakis and a collared polo shirt. And guess what I got at the end of the year? No cap. A promotion. I got a promotion because all I signaled to my manager and the supervisors, management above him, is that now I'm willing to comply within your system. So promotions, titles, that doesn't mean shit. You can be connected. You can be well networked. You can have leverage to get all those things. But true power is having authority, having real authority. That's true power. When you have power and you have the right, that's how you move. And everybody knows, if you are in the corporate world now or have been, there was a person in that building that didn't have the title, but they made that building move. They didn't care about the title. I don't care. Because their integrity, their integrity was so strong that their word was bond. Their word is bond. Their integrity is so strong that if I say something's going to happen, it happens. I put my word on it. Those people, I don't care about the title. I don't care about the name. I don't care about this or that. Those people are the ones who make things move. As an entrepreneur, you got to have 80% of that in you. What's your promises to your customers? Goes back to promises to customers. When you say to your customer, this is going to happen, do they believe you? When you say to anybody in the outside world, to your spouses, to your significant others, friends, family members, anybody, hey, I'll have that to you by next week, do they believe you? Oh, shit. Now, sometimes the people who know me well, if I say, hey, I'm 5 minutes away, they don't believe me. Because they know I'm not 5 minutes away. They know I probably just left the house. Because my 5 minutes away is like 20 minutes away in real life. But guess what? That comes from abusing that word so much and not showing up for 5 minutes and showing up 20 minutes later. Go ahead. Exactly. I trained them to think of me that way. From talk. 5 minutes away. I'm 5 minutes. No, I'm 5 minutes away. I'll be there in 5 minutes. Huh? Because it's a thing to say, and you don't want to hurt their feelings. You want them to feel, but that's a little micro way of breaking trust, right? But when you move with integrity, I know what you say is real. I know what you say is right. That's how you want to move. Next slide. When we can finish, I want to get through. Oh man, we. Oh, Pastor Chris, I had something special for you. We're not gonna make it. So let's hit this slide, and then we'll continue on next week.
If your purpose is something larger than you, to accomplish something, to prove something to yourself, then suddenly everything becomes both easier and more difficult. Easier in the sense that you know now what it is you need to do and what is important to you. The other choices wash away, as they aren't really choices at all. They're distractions. It's about the doing, not the recognition.
So this slide introduces the word purpose. The word purpose, when it says things become easier, when you move by your purpose, then it washes away a lot of the bullshit. When the questions about how do I shut the fuck up? How do I do these things? How do I balance these things? When you move with purpose, it's easier. It becomes much easier to be like, nope, I got a bigger purpose here, so I'm gonna follow. I'm gonna humble myself. If your life ain't where you want it to be, and you broke, and money is bad for you, and you living in tough circumstances and situations, and there's somebody in front of you that can help change the whole trajectory of your life in that moment, and you know they love you, and they know everything coming from their mouth comes from a space of love, and they tell you to shut the fuck up. What can you do? What do you do? Who are you talking to? Man, fuck this shit. I'm out talking to me like that. That's what a lot of us do. Not realizing that when you move with purpose, you're able to humble yourself more. Who cares? Remember making the band when Diddy made his band members go get some cheesecake? Remember that? And they interviewed him. I came to rap. I didn't come to buy cheesecake. I'm Dylan. I'm going to say my name 3 times of the top 5 rap. Remember that shit? Ego was so inflated. Who cares? Who cares? How much cheesecake do you want? How many flavors do you want? What kind of design? What do you want? Do you want it from a couple different stores? So what? Because once you get to the point to where you're of service to your customers, to people, to whatever, you're willing to bypass any kind of appearance bullshit to get to where you want to go. Everybody got to hold the coat of somebody. You got to hold the coat of somebody in order to learn the game. You gotta learn to hold the coat of somebody if you want to learn the game. There's pictures of Obama holding Bill Clinton's coat. While Bill Clinton was doing his thing and going out there trying to get campaigning for his election, Obama was soaking game up. Guess what? People rarely see the picture of Obama holding the coat of Bill Clinton. They see who Obama became. Humility is power. Humility is power. You don't always got to be Batman. You could be somebody's Robin. To learn a game, soak the game up, and be a Batman to somebody else. Because that's the next slide, or the next couple of slides. You got to learn how to be humble and confident at the same time. Let's keep going. One more. Sorry. Let's go to the plus minus equal, and then we'll. I know I'm taking us over, but I got into this. Plus minus equal.
It's like, I think, the third slide.
Is
over.
one after.
Question for you, Court.
It's the one after become a student. Yeah, there you go. Plus
There we go.
minus equal. Yep.
Okay. Plus minus equal. The mixed martial arts pioneer and multi-title champion, Frank Shamrock, has a system he trains fighters in that he calls plus minus and equal. Each fighter, to become great, he said, needs to have someone better that they can learn from, someone lesser who they can teach, and someone equal that they can challenge themselves against.
So I love this formula. This formula prevents that ego from getting out of control. So if you use it in a basic fighting context, it's always somebody who's kicking your ass. It's always somebody's ass is you kicking. And it's always somebody who challenges you, who you're equal in power with, that you can spar with and go at it with, that can challenge you and make you better and improve your skill set. If you have this kind of circle around you, it keeps you confident and humble at the same time. You know what you can do. You know what you're capable of, but you also know that there's a level above you that you have to get there and you have to get to. Moving in that way, once you remove any one of those things, it can sometimes affect you emotionally and put you out of whack in terms of overemphasizing an emotion based on a skill set. But in entrepreneurship, you always be around somebody doing better than you. You always have somebody that you're on par with, because you can share tools with that you guys are dealing with the same level of stuff. And there's always somebody below you that you can mentor, you can help. You can help improve, give them game. That way, the question about confidence, arrogance, and humility that happened earlier, that's how you harmonize them. Constantly keep that in your circle. Any questions before we?
So question about the earlier slide on purpose. And my question is, how do you see Black nonprofits applying that principle versus Black for-profit businesses?
Oh, Jesus. Simplest, quickest to me is one is palms up. One is a palms up approach, palms out. So their strategy is very simple. It's almost a be, do, have approach. If I can posture well enough to the people with money, then they'll write me a check. If I posture well enough and our slides are good and we have all these things that can signal to banks or investors or people who write checks to grant writers well enough, then they'll write us a check and we can survive another year. Versus Black for-profits, you take responsibility for everything. The reason why when you go into nonprofit spaces, there's a sense of arrogance, it's a false sense of arrogance, because they float from the checks of other people based on their posturing. Entrepreneurship is a game you have to play solely on your growth and your improvement and your ability to network and your ability to add value to customers directly. So it's the difference between the wild and a pet. So nonprofits may appear like they're businesses, but they're really just animals in the zoo. They look like the tiger, but the entrepreneur is in the wild. Because if they don't go hunt, they don't eat. So how do they eat? They have to be strategic and skillful as possible. So hell yeah, they may have to sharpen their claws if they need to on a tree. But if they're not skillful at what they do, they don't eat. Any last questions? All right. Hey, I really hope that this added value. It was a lot of dope nuggets in here. So, if there's no other questions, then thank you. This was a dope ass class. See you next week.